Thank you so much for staying to this channel. Like what we talked about is all about 2021 in review, in retrospect, what transpired. And with me here in the studio, I have seasoned analysts. I want to start my introduction by introducing Madam Nuruddin Senugwa, right? Thank you so much for coming on today's show. Is it Asenugwa or Asonoje? Which is it, sir?
Asunogi.
Asunogi. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for coming on today's show. So very close to him is a vibrant youth in Mafidan Ojo. Welcome in Mafidan.
Pleasure.
All right. And of course, Derek, one-time councillor of Ego local government, right? Ward 7, isn't it? Yeah.
Good morning.
And of course, an entrepreneur. Thanks a lot, Derek, for coming on today's show.
Thank
and
you.
I say compliment of the season to all of you. Politically speaking, in Nigeria, Malam Nuruddin, our story thus far, because the year is coming to an end, what are your perceptions?
Well, good, beautiful, ugly, we have seen them all, a mixture of all of these, and that is to be expected in any political landscape, except that we are hoping that we will ultimately deepen our political consciousness and appreciate that political authority is an opportunity to render service, is an opportunity for you to etch your name in the sand of time, and it's not about aggrandizement, self-aggrandizement. Is not about maximizing personal gain, which unfortunately is what has dominated the political landscape, because the discombobulation that we have observed were obviously not inevitable, but they are a consequence of when you deal with leadership that is lecarish, when you deal with leadership that is self-serving, leadership that is plagued by what you refer to as opportunistic visionlessness and stuff of that kind. But I'm sure that as we go on and deepen the political process, leadership will emerge that would see leadership basically as service to the people.
All right. Well, in the year 2021, we experienced turbulence in our political scene. He talked about the good, the not so good, which is very correct. We'll get to see party members fighting their chairman. We'll get to see inter-parties. We'll get to see also decamping, both the ones that are called for and the ones that are not called for. Ojo, what do you feel about this?
Well, good morning, Wilson. 2021 has been a very busy year for we Nigerians. We've experienced, in fact, this year is one of the busiest year for us. Let me put it like that. We all saw what happened with the National Assembly and President Buhari about the Electoral Act and all that. So, but I think democracy, that's the beauty of democracy. Democracy purifies itself. And I think as we go on, the year 2022 definitely will experience something. I think maybe 2022 will be greater. Let me put it like that.
It will be greater.
Yeah.
A year to, let's say 2 years to the election and the rest of them.
Yeah,
it's like, saying 2023 is like, around the corner. Saying 2022 will be greater. I don't think that there'll be more experience of political turbulence and the rest of them.
That's why I said it's going to be greater, because 2021 has given us opportunity to how do I even put it? But what I'm saying is this year has really
been quite challenging.
Yeah, it was challenging for us, and I think next year we've all learned in one or two ways. Let me put it like that.
All right. I'll come back to you, Ojo. Well, Derek, you're in the political scene. You even occupied an office of a councillor in your ward, and people have already started rating. I wouldn't want to go into that. More like, positively inclined about your leadership. Others are saying, well, he did it for his own party members and the rest of them. Now, as a politician, what are your perceptions when we take a look at the year 2021? You use the word challenging. In what aspect?
Well, the political landscape was mostly plagued with a lot of fiasco, if I'm allowed to put it that way. Up till now, you see the unsettling situation in the political establishment of the two major political platforms in the Nigeria democratic system or setting, wherein congresses were inconclusive in some states and local government. We see situations where some states will have up to 3 executive structures, executive party structures, and so on and so forth. So these are challenges that baffles me, because establishments that are geared with producing leaders, servants who would anchor the social, political, and economic structure of Nigeria are having these challenges that they seem not to be able to resolve, like 911. I wonder how this establishment will be able to put Nigeria in the proper trajectory towards nation building, economic advancement for the nation and for its citizens.
All right.
So these are the issues.
All right. You used the word fiasco. You used the word, in one point you talked about self-serving leaders. In course of your introduction into this particular topic, you get to see, like what you rightly said, party having parallel Congress, party having different executive parties, having so many other things that are like, uncalled for. Do you think that the political space was dealt a nasty blow, I want to use that phrase, nasty blow, by Nigerians? And if it's true, what are the factors that led to it?
Well, like the confusion he talked about is something that is deliberate. If a leader does not intend to serve, leadership in quote now, does not intend to serve, the oxygen that is required for all of that to happen is to create confusion. Because the more confusing the scenario or the setting is, the better it is to advance what that leadership that is hawkish intends to achieve. When you talk about the absence of discipline, indiscipline is not a fortuitous thing. It's studiously orchestrated, and there are beneficiaries. And so all of the confusion you have found, whether it is in PDP, where Sokandos came on board, you all knew how he did come. And when it was time to go, the one who was paying the piper said it was time to go, and the fellow wanted to do grandstanding and stuff like that. He knew that he was running on his last liter of fuel, running in the direction of the desert, where he was obviously going to have an engine that would come to a halt, whether he liked it or not. Whether it's in the other party, APC, where you have a sitting governor, and there had been a whole lot of legal issues as to whether he ought to be there or not, and stuff like that. These are issues that reflects the absence of a willingness on the part of the citizenry to participate. Because freedom is not the absence of manacles, it's the right to participate. By participation, we are saying playing a catalytic role is not a substitute for participation. Once you have been denied, or you have by your own self sequestered yourself from the arena of participation, you are one who obviously do not have freedom. And so that basically is what has played out itself. If the people were involved, getting participatory fulfillment in their involvement, you raise fundamental questions and say, for example, if I elected you as a governor of my state, how come you will be managing a political structure that is as large as your own political party? How much time do you have? These are issues over which you should have raised conversation. But because the people are docile, the people have sequestered and had allowed themselves to be lucidated from issues that concern them, things will go the way they are going. And so whatever it is that has happened, nothing is by accident.
Nothing
is
by
design.
accident. Now, he used the word, or when I said the phrase, is it a clause right now that people are docile politically? That's why some things that happened, politically happened. Do you agree to that? The docility of Nigerians in terms of politics?
Wilson, you know, we just... I know it's been a long time we left the military regime.
Yeah.
But you know, we are coming from the military background, let me put it like that. So a lot of people, or should I say a lot of these politicians, they still play politics of the way the military used to play their own back then. So saying the people are docile is not really that we don't know our rights, let me put it like that. But the laws of the land, which was given to us by the then military government, is more or less, me and you, we don't have a say in the government, let me put it like that. The law has already given these elites the power to manipulate and control the people. I don't know if you understand.
Is it the law or the people? Because the law also was dragged to the extent that some judges were suspended, they were not given due promotion even when it's due because of their involvement in politics.
Wilson, what I'm saying is,
yes,
in a system whereby the president appoints the Inspector General of Police, appoint the Chief of Army Staff and all that, appoint the Chief Justice of the country, in a system whereby the governor is the chief, is in charge of all the security apparatus of the state. So in that kind of situation, the masses, do we really have a say in the government? We don't, because these people, they control everything. So a lot of people that have tried to, in one way or the other, checkmate the government, we all see how they ended up. Yeah. So that's why a lot of people are scared. Let me put it like Fela said, he said, suffering and smiling.
Smiling.
Not that we don't really, we have great people that can checkmate these elites, let me put it like that, but the system, the law has already affected the way...
Our psyche.
Yeah. So it's not really that we're docile, it's just the system, that's all.
The system. Derek, is it a question of the system or docility of Nigerians? He said it's not because we are docile, it's the system and of course the law put on the ground to give the elite an edge over the masses.
Well, docility, to some extent, yes. But who is to blame? Well, the system is, we do not run a people-centered government. Our systems are mostly detached. There's no cohesion, you know. This is why you see different MDAs and ministries doing the same thing, replicating functions. Nigeria has succeeded in not carrying its people along in almost all spheres.
Not carrying its people along?
Yes.
Okay.
In almost every area of its governance and economic policies. When the government wants to implement projects, they mostly implement projects that benefit the elites. And the same elites who are mostly in charge of our governmental structure are those that have bastardized the system. They so lack faith in the system for which they've been put in charge that they do not even access public facilities, be it in the health sector, be it in the education system. Most of them take their children abroad to study, you know. So the problem is that of leadership. And it is as old as time. When Nigeria and other African nations got their independence in the 60s, Kwame Nkrumah made a very strong
Statement.
Put a very strong statement or debate forward around the year 1963 that Africa needs to come together. That it is in our coming together that we'll be able to survive. And there's no much time on our part that we need to do it like 911. But because of greed, because a typical black man wants to be a big fish in a small stream, they all said no, that they need to go the slow path. Let them take it gradually, build ECOWAS, build what have you. Even though Africa is the biggest continent in the world, we are blessed with the most natural
and human resources.
To say human resources, well, statistics are not very clear. But we have the best, gifted with the best natural resources.
Okay.
And later on, when Gaddafi came up to say, hey, people like Kwame Nkrumah were saying the truth. Why don't we still start to come together and build Africa? What happened to him? He was scared. I don't want to go into all of that.
Right.
That is a topic for another day. But the system is the cause of all of this, be it docility or be it the dysfunctionality of the system.
The system. Is there anything fundamentally wrong with the system? If yes, why hasn't it been corrected?
Well, for me, the fundamental problem is the people. An average Nigerian, for example, who obey no traffic laws, crosses over to Cotonou and he begins to observe the rules. So it will mean that whoever does whatever he does so because he knows that there will be no sanction, and if there are going to be sanctions, that those sanctions or those who were supposed to dish out the sanctions could be compromised. Is the fact that we do not believe, the average Nigerian, for example, does not believe in his Nigerianness. And so it again explains why, whereas corruption is a global phenomenon, but it's not about development. The man takes whatever resources or collaborates with others to take resources outside the shores of Africa to deepen the development of some other country. Others would just not do that. So it is the people that require a mental as well as attitudinal transition. But when we say system, what is system? It's like you talking about the palace. The palace is just a symbol. If what it symbolizes in actuality is gone, then it has absolutely no meaning. Every system is a function of what the people do. The unfortunate thing is that here we have no expectation. Everything, somebody tells you, I have paid salary, I have fixed a road, and so you begin to clap. Nobody asks the question, what is the cost? What favor have you done me, for example, if you paid me my salary at the end of the month? What favor have you done? What have you done specially if you fixed a road? That was what you begged me to allow you to come and do. And so what is spectacular about that? The biggest problem is that we just do not have expectations. And so whatever it is done is okay by us. If you do not have expectation, nothing is too small. Nothing is too insignificant. And so this is around the area where we should get the right orientation, the right education that enables us, for example, to say, this is basically what we do. When people, for example, go in search of education, what are they looking for? Looking for that enables them to tame and domesticate all negativities in them. But what we have gotten over time, whether you are professing anything or whatever, is that we have acquired literacy. And this we euphemistically will refer to as education. Capacity to read and write is not the same thing as literacy. I mean, it's not the same thing as being educated. Because being educated will mean that you have the capacity of identifying what is right and doing what is right. Which explains why the Chinese philosopher had to say that knowing what to do and not doing it is not to know. Because you can't know and yet you are not doing it.
All right. He said the system is what the people makes of it. Back again to the masses vis-a-vis docility. Now, if you take a look at the political space, it was like, top up the year with our president refusing to assent to the electoral amendment bill. That seems to be the height of it. Towards the end of the year, it just happened. Were you surprised when it happened?
Well, I was not surprised. I always knew the president would never assent to that bill.
But almost a month ago, you said he was going to do the right thing.
No, what I'm saying is...
I remember you saying clearly, that was like a month back.
No, also when I came, I told
Yes.
we discussed about direct primaries.
Yes.
And the reason why the president didn't assent to this bill is because of that direct primary. I know the, should I say, okay, the APC legislators there. I know that direct primaries was smuggled into that bill. Because the main reason why the president is not going to assent to that bill, I know the main reason is because of the electronic transmission. So that direct primary or no direct primary is not even supposed to be an issue. The main issue is that electronic transmission. So with that alone, I know the president will never assent to that bill, and even the House of the legislators, do they have the balls to override him? That's where the problem is.
All right. Derek, were you surprised? Because that seems to be the cocoa right now. The end of the year, towards the end, was like, I gave reasons for this, I'm not going to assent to this, go take a look at it again. What came into your mind when the news broke?
Well, before I answer that question, let me still maintain that whatever the situation in Nigeria today, the people are not to blame.
But people are to, because they're part of the system.
Leadership is the problem. And like I said, the problem of leadership in Nigeria and most African countries is as old as time. Leaders who want to use leadership for personal aggrandizement, who don't care about the fundamentals of leadership and how to deliver quality leadership to its people. People whom you are leading, they are watching you. When you, on your own, take the common patrimony of everyone in a system which you are governing, and nobody is able to call you to account, you have given the impression to others that in their own little way, they can also do what they want, and the system will not catch up with them. That is what you are seeing. It's a chain reaction where people break traffic rules, because even the leadership break traffic rules. They go with siren blaring here and there. They use security details who all or sweep to flog you when you refuse to clear off the road while their boss is coming. They, in their own little way, subconsciously, I'm feeling, wow, this is what is obtainable. Once I'm able to buy my own car, that will also be able to bully people off the way. There's a way it works. We are looking up to leadership. Leadership who fails to give a clear path for the good progress of the nation will also be ready to deal with the consequences. So the issue is poverty of leadership. I won't, said that. I am actually surprised that Mr. President did not assent to that bill. I always knew and said that he will assent to that bill, because that bill seemed to favor the interest of the northern cabals, where direct primary is allowed to come into play. Then the northerners with the highest number of voters, both in the political landscape of party election and in the general election, we want to embrace this system. So if direct primary is allowed, then people with the highest number will be the one to always feed candidates for election. And that way, issue of zoning will be a secondary thing. People will no longer clamor for it, as far as the most popular person comes out. So I am surprised that Mr. President, who I know is very, I wouldn't want to disrespect him, but he's somebody that likes to favor his own more, his constituent more than most part nationals.
That's your own opinion.
In my own opinion, of course.
I will be wrong.
You know, so that I'm surprised I did not assent to this bill.
Okay, all right. Malam, do you share the same view? When the news broke, what came to your mind?
Well, let me first say this. Trump did a whole lot of things. And the American people spoke because the institution is as strong as the people who are behind it. They spoke and he's gone. And so, if it were just Trump as a leader, he would have had his way. I haven't said that. As it relates to the Electoral Act, Electoral Bill, that the president withheld his assent. All of the governors, except that they have done this wrapper of shamelessness, all of them didn't want that bill signed. And so perhaps what the president just did was to defer to them. The president is the easiest human being to deal with in this country if we had done the right thing. How many members do you have in the National Assembly? Less than 500. The two houses put together. They can decide the fate of Mr. President. Not a member of the smallest constituency in Edo State can you decide his matter the way that of Mr. President could be decided. Because if a man is in a local, is representing Oriedo, for example, and the register, voters register for Oriedo says 100,000 persons, the constitutional requirement is such that an elephant could go through the eye of a needle than for you to bring that man out of that place. You don't need all of that to deal with the president. And so, why are they not overriding Mr. President if they needed to? I mean, if they were not in agreement to say this is what we want. As to the issue of transmitting results electronically, who are those who will transmit the results? Advanced as the United States of America is, that had practiced democracy for centuries, there were issues with the Gore-Bush's results.
Yeah.
So it was not, once human beings, the Chinese war was never breached. It was a war that was built to fortify, but it was the human element that got compromised. And so they didn't need to break down the wall. And so what we need to do is to get everybody to appreciate that we all are stakeholders. Once there is confusion, like there is confusion in the land, everybody, time there was you say, I won't travel by road so that I escape. Not even the comfort, quote and unquote, of your home provides security for you anymore. And so these are the issues.
All right. I made a promise that we'll go from now to 10, but there are other states of guests to really throw more light on this. I'm going to renege on that promise. I believe we'll have enough time to really talk more on this. But we'll go, you have 1 minute each to cap up your points. We talk about politics in the year 2021 in retrospect. Do you expect more fireworks come 2022? I still want to start off with you, Madam.
Well, I want to say the bulk of the citizenry, unfortunately, have been fiendishly fed on a repass of illusion. And until and unless you are able to take them out, what we have had without no apology is that we have succeeded in creating a society of moral cripples, as zoological cadavers. For as long as you do not find persons who have the intrepidity, the moral courage to say, hey, we have a responsibility to say what is ours should be managed for the benefit, absolutely nothing would happen, except that the money bags who are already jostling. This is the sad thing. Those who want to lead are not coming because there is any value they are bringing to the table. We have the money to purchase this merchandise.
Thank you so much, Malam. Imafidon, 1 minute.
Well, next year for me is going to be very busy. busy for the politicians and their foot soldiers.
Yeah.
Because the campaign will be starting from next year.
You're speaking like a politician right now.
Sorry, but I just believe next year is going to be very busy.
Busy.
Both national and state.
Okay.
And again, from January, I know the legislators, the National Assembly, they are going to act as if they are at least from January, because the other day I saw them gathering signatures and all that. I know, so that's why I said next year is going to be busy. So you expect a lot of dramas from January till maybe middle of the year.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Ojo Mafido. Jerry Kuhumago, your last line, 1 minute. We spent close to 40 minutes here. Yeah.
I would say there's not much time
Yeah.
for Nigeria to do the proper thing towards national growth and development. We need a new kind of citizens in this country.
New kind.
A new kind of citizens. People who are full of humility. And those whose humility are their strength. And a people who are full of integrity. And whose integrity is their greatness.
Nice.
Until we evolve a new crop of people to pilot the affairs of this nation, whom we consciously know that in serving, therein is greatness.
Yes. Okay.
And when you serve because you want to serve the people, not to serve yourself, your family, and your clan.
All right.
It is from there that Nigeria will begin to see the lights and to compare with other nations in terms of development. Finally, we need to also evolve very stringent laws that holds leadership to account. So in Japan, for example, the penalty for corruption as a public office holder, Japan, China is death. But in Nigeria, it's a pat on the shoulder and chieftaincy title here and there. So we need to evolve policies, principles, laws that will ensure nation building.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you so much, Ojo Mafido. And of course, Madam Irene, appreciate your coming. This topic is a continuum. Maybe next week, Sunday, I can't tell me, just get an invite to come on and to really expatiate on this. I appreciate all of you. Let's get to hear from other guests on this particular topic because it is really getting more and more interesting. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Thank you.